Things Buying Houses. I'm Bill Gross and my colleague,
Patricia.Castillo.
that way, I guess. And
Yeah.
then we also have with us our friend and regular lender of mine,
Gustavo, how you guys doing?
Gustavo Segura. Glad to have you. So what's up? What's up, Patricia? What's new? What's happening? What's the market look like for you?
The market looks pretty good right now. I mean, obviously it's still going through that shift. It's normalizing. But from what we're seeing on our end, buyers are still buying and sellers are still selling. Irina Hill on our team, she just picked up 2 listings and buyers, I mean, like I said, buyers are still buying. There's tremendous opportunities right now even if you're looking at new construction or if you're looking at, a home that you've had your eye on, this is really a great time to get with a realtor and talk about negotiations, because this is a time to really dig in deep and start, talking with your real estate agent and get those negotiations going, because there are so many opportunities right now for, help with financing. Some sellers are offering to carry the loan for maybe, the first introductory period of your home ownership, maybe the first 3 to 5 years. By then, you should be able to refinance, but at least you get in at a good rate. And we've talked about FHA loans before, and those loans always have a lower interest rate than what's showing on the, the general market. So it's a good time. I have buyers that are still interested in buying, and, we're going through that qualification process. So I had a handyman today changing a lock on a property that is closing on Friday. And I was sharing with you guys earlier, we had a transient that was trying to, get into the property. And so the handyman that was there changing the locks, he was asking me the same thing. Is this still a good time to buy? So he's interested in buying a home, and I'm helping him get pre-qualified. I mean, the buyers are everywhere. It's just amazing.
You can't help it. They're just coming at you, Patricia. You can't help it. Try to keep away from me.
Yeah, so it's a great time. And I've been talking to some of my friends that I know that are working for school districts, whether you're a teacher or just working for the school district as an employee.
Yep.
There's fantastic loan programs for, different types of professions. If you're a first responder, if you're a teacher, or if you work for a school district. And, there's just so much opportunity right now. So it's a really great time.
Well, I can't agree more. In fact, I wanted to kind of share some data that came across I think might be of interest to people on our call today. Let me see if I can pull this up real fast. Share screen, and there it is. So 2 things I wanted to share. One is the interest rates, which had been going up.
Right.
Now the press is going to report, I think, because finally rates closed above 7%.
Yeah, I think it was
But you can see they've
7.07.
come back down. And they had been as high, they closed today at 7.07. Now, no telling where they're going to go tomorrow or Friday, but we're up at 7.37% on Thursday last week. And since then, it's come backed off a bit. So, we don't want to predict the future, but what we can say is the rates certainly are not spiraling up out of control. They've been going up significantly.
Right.
As always happens, it seems to hit a number. Another thing to watch is the median sales price. People talk about the housing crisis or crash, and it's true that prices have come down a bit this year. But if you compare this year to last year, what we did is we lost some of the crazy record high activity we had. This is Redfin's data from across the country. But you can see how much, this is the pandemic and how much prices, I remember people thought, oh my gosh, the pandemic real estate was going to fall apart, and things came down. What's happened since then? The average price went from 600,000 to at one point a high of 900, but still 840 versus 600. So everything's gone up 35, almost 40%. If sales come down 30% and prices go up 30%, the overall market's about the same. So that's where we're at. Yes, it's not as good as it was. It might not be as good as it was going to be, but it's still pretty good. And there's plenty of people like Patricia. If you're good at a real estate agent as Patricia, you can't help it. People bump into you and want to work with you. But for the rest of us, I would say the market's good enough where for people who want to buy, there's opportunity to buy. For people who want to sell, there's buyers out there looking to sell. So,
Absolutely.
so
How about you,
Gustavo,
Gustavo?
Yeah,
what do you say?
and that chart that you just showed, that appreciation was a very short term, right? So as we can see, it's still going up over the last 5-6 years that chart was showing. So, real estate is about, a nice investment that you're going to have for 10, 15, 20 years, right? So if we look at 5 years, I mean, like you said, it's such a huge bump, right? It's one of those things that it's hard to time that kind of market, and you just buy when it's the right time for you, and you hold on to it. And in 5 years, you can have that kind of curve. So, what 2028 might look like from now, right? It's still probably going to be higher than where it's at now.
This is the number people look at. They see the number of sales going down and go, oh my gosh. But what happens is every year the sales go down and they go back up again. We look at the overall activity, it's been about the same range.
Yeah.
So yes, the number of activities is somewhat of a cyclical business. People like to buy in the summer when the kids are out of school. It's one of the main motivators. But and again, this is the pandemic period, but we had solid numbers during this time. But again, the median price is actual price of houses, and yes, it's come down a bit since the highs of I think it was January or April, but still much higher than it was last in 2021 and 2020 and 19. And as you say, over a long period of time, it's been nothing but up. So
yeah,
we'll say it's a good investment when it's time for you to buy a property. If it's not a good time for you to buy, you probably shouldn't buy. Speaking of great real estate agents, not quite as good as Patricia.Castillo, but still in our heart, great agent, Annabelle Pacheco. What's up, Annabelle?
Hello.
How you
Hi,
doing?
welcome to the call.
Thank you.
Put your camera on, so we thought we'd bring you in here because we know how much you enjoy sharing with everybody.
The what?
I said you put your camera on, so I thought we would bring
Yeah,
you
I
in
want
for
you to
everybody.
see. I want you to see what a hardworking real estate agent looks like when she's made a ton of phone calls all day long.
Well, this is what it looks like actually when you've been an agent since 8 o'clock, working all day with a small lunch break,
Hey.
working hard, getting new listings and helping the client. This is what it looks like right here.
Right here, right here.
I don't know what you're doing, but I know that's what and Patricia as well is what it looks
I've
like.
kept it together, guys.
Yeah, gosh, if I looked that good, Patricia, I would do a lot more business. No doubt about it. And then Gustavo is is the eye candy for the girls. He doesn't really work at all. He's just the male model we bring on the call for the ladies to look at. So he doesn't really work. He just talks a game like he pretends.
Just sits here on the call.
here, yeah.
It looks good. Good. So what's new? What's new in the market? I mean, we talk about any particular problems. What's a new thing? Is there anything that's new?
Well, from my side, I shared with Patricia how we have this 2-1 buy down program, right, which has been getting a lot of news in the last probably 2 months. And it's something that can help a new buyer, right? In the first 2 years, it can really help them with their payment. And I shared over a document that can visualize the payments. So I don't know if we have that available that maybe we can share. I think it would be good to be able to see the value on the payment difference, because when we talk about getting a seller concession, usually we're thinking, oh, well, the seller is not going to give us $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, but you really don't need that much. On a $600,000 loan amount, you only need about $14,000 in order to help for the first 2 years. So it's a big payment reduction that can help buyers and gives them 2 years in order to then be able to refinance into a lower rate before they even have to make that full payment.
Yeah, this is a time where, like everything in business, you got to be a little smarter, sharpen your pencil, learn a little bit more, make a better decision for yourself. But it's definitely an opportunity for to buy a property and an opportunity to maybe save some money and be able to get into a house today that you might otherwise not afford. Let me get the chart out.
I agree.
You can show it to us.
There's definitely sellers are much more willing to work with buyers, right? It's the 50,000, 100,000 over list price offers is no longer in existence. I mean, it's not happening. Maybe they get the house is impeccable and it's in great condition. Maybe they get, their list price, but it's definitely, and one thing for me that I've experienced is that, especially now in this market, if you're going into a property and the property looks like it's got some deferred maintenance, do all the investigations that you possibly can. Bring in a roofer, bring in a plumber, bring in an electrician. Those, high ticket items, you want to bring in all of those specialists along with your home inspection so that you are doing the appropriate findings on that property. And now you have evidence that you can go back to that seller and say, Mr. Seller, my clients are requesting a $40,000 or $50,000 price or credit because of, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I mean, all these repairs. And when you put it all in line and just with reports, it doesn't lie, right? It's right there.
Yeah.
It's a great way of getting a price reduction or credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you let all of the data do all the heavy lifting.
Correct. Correct.
Well, yeah, and I think the thing always is we want to have the client discover what the market's telling them, not what we're telling them.
Yeah.
When we
Correct.
tell a customer something, we assume we're misleading them or we're being dishonest. We just want to make it easy to sell the property. When the market tells them that, they can argue with the market. We don't have to like, yeah, those terrible other realtors. I can't believe those buyers say that. But, at the end of the day, never writing offers, what we'd like to do.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something for us to a tool. But we never want to be telling people anything. We want to help the customer discover what the issue is in the process.
Yes. And in this chart that we have here, the 2-1 buy down, you can see how on a $600,000 loan amount, let's just put a rate of 7%. The payment would be $39.91. Well, the first year it drops by 2%. So it's a 5% essentially what you're getting as a new buyer, and your payment is $32.20. Well, where does the difference come in at? That's $720. That's something that can be taken from the seller concession. So here's where we take a look and say $770 for the first year for each month. And then the next year it drops 1%, so it's 6. And then the difference is going to be $394. So if we take those and we add them up, we're a little bit shy of $14,000. And in a market like now, we can easily get $14,000 on a price reduction if we need to. So where before, a year ago or 2 years ago, you weren't able to get any of that. But now something like that, like $14,000, can help a buyer and get into a house with a 5% effective rate payment, and then a 6%, and then 7%. So by that time, the market has definitely probably changed. And then you're going to be able to refinance and be able to get it below that 7% rate.
And if not, you still have a market rate of 7%. It's not like you're paying a higher rate. You've bought down the rate from the market rate.
Right.
There are other programs you might go 7.5%. So 5.5, 6.5, 7.5. But if we can get the seller to pay the difference, then you end up with a market rate mortgage at the end of 3 years. If worst case, it's 4 or 5 years before you can refinance.
Right. And the borrower is still getting qualified at a 7%. So that we're qualifying them and they're still very safe to get the loan. It's just a matter of now we're using the seller concession to be able to help them subsidize the monthly.
I like what we say that like almost as if the underwriter is protecting the buyer from making a choice they wouldn't want to make. It's a good way to put that they are going to be underwritten at 7%. So we're going to not let them get a loan they can't afford. But at the same time, we're not going to let them get a loan they can't afford on paper. So I like what you said. That was good.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's a pro. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching that, you might want to rewind that and watch that exchange. He said that, and I just fell in love. Wow, okay, good stuff. What did you say? Where do I sign? I'm ready to go with that.
Yeah. No, I just want to make sure that, that people don't start to make these assumptions that things are getting a little bit looser on the financing side, and that can get us into trouble. No, they're still taking the right approach. So
I was in this business before I think you guys were born. And I remember we had mortgages that people would take out. And they'd come to me 2 years later, not ones I had done, because I explained to my customers how they worked, but they didn't understand why the mortgage balance was higher 2 years later. Those are called negative amortizing loans. We don't have those today. Then we had loans in 2008 and 2009 that people really could not afford. They knew they couldn't afford, but they buy it anyhow because they thought, well, someday we'll sell the house for more. And it was like musical chairs will be covered. Well, we don't have those loans today. You got to qualify basically or put down a lot of money to protect the bank and protect yourself. these loans, they're qualifying you at the market rate. So you can qualify at 7%. You may not want it to go to 7%. You may hope rates go down and you refinance out of it. Makes sense. But at least you'll be in a loan you can qualify, and you'll be in a house, hopefully, that you can afford. That's the whole game plan.
Yeah, and so one more thing too I wanted to mention. So this is what we call a short-term buy down, right, or temporary buy down, because you're using that $14,000 within the first 2 years, as you can see there. The other buy down is your permanent buy down, where you're going from a 7 and you're going to use that money to buy down to a 6%. And that's going to be for the life of the loan for the next 30 years. So you're going to have a different payment. Now, that's another strategy as well. But if you do that and then you refinance within a year or two, then you got out of that loan pretty quickly and you didn't get the full benefit of buying down the rate. So in a lot of cases where, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we had a 3%, and we bought it down to a 2%, you're like, I'm staying in that loan forever. That makes sense. You're not going to refinance that. You're not going to touch that for a very long time. And that's why you bought it down. Here, if we know it's going to come down here in the future and you're using that money and you're throwing it for that, but then you refinance within 2 years, you didn't take the full advantage of that seller concession in order to really benefit. And this is why this short term allows you to move that money, take advantage of it, use it all up in the first 2 years, and then let's see what the market is after that.
Well, great. Okay, well, thank you for providing the details, Gustavo. And I think it's a great option for people to consider. I think the key is when you get a loan, you want to at least look at those options on paper, see what they are, and then take them from there. What else do we have? Patricia, anything else you want to add to our discussion, or Annabelle, what's going on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is where, we work with our clients to really sit down, look at what the short-term goals are, long-term goals, see what's going to be best suitable for your family. If it is, taking advantage of the market right now, what sellers are offering as far as the buy downs, like what Gustavo just shared with us. We go over all of that information with you to see what is going to benefit you the most in the time frame that you're planning on staying in the home. So that way you get the most advantage of the money that's being offered, so that it can help either save with your payments, or, if you're planning on moving in a couple of years, then we're going to obviously revisit that as well. So you get the full benefit. So the information is free. We just need to set up a call so we can talk to you and see, what your plans are. And we'll set up that roadmap for you. And we educate you all along the way, from the beginning all the way to the end. And there's things that start changing, things start moving quickly once you're in escrow. And so we keep you, updated along the process and explain what everything means, all the disclosures, the reports that are coming to you as far as the home inspection. And, what Annabelle was mentioning as far as getting some reports and inspections might lead to another inspection. So those are things that we tell you about in the beginning, and we go over the entire process for you, so you get the full picture of the home buying process. And that's what we're here for, is to guide you every step of the way.
Patricia, including the real estate transactions you closed as an escrow officer, how many real estate transactions have you closed in your real estate career?
Gosh, well, I started last year, so kind of like in the middle of the year. So,
well, including your but you were an escrow officer before that, so there you're really with the paperwork and disclosures and all that. So,
I don't know, a few thousand, I guess.
You've done a few. Yeah. That's my point. So as you go through this stuff, I think anybody who's watching this should know that, and the reason why you've lasted is because you prepared. You want to know the details. You want to. I know you sold one of my listings, where on one hand you keep me in check, on the other hand, which is good. On the other hand, and it's good for your buyer. On the other hand, some agents will kind of slide things through, and so that your experience comes through. Just when you're going through all the process, there was just very impressive, and I want people to know they're doing with an expert who's been in real estate for a long time. She looks like she's just out of high school, but it turns out she's been in real estate for, 10 years.
You're being so generous.
10 years. How long have you been in real estate? How long have you been an escrow officer for, before real estate even?
Well, over 15 years, because I started in my early 20s as a.
We don't need to get the details. I don't mean to bust you or anything.
Yeah.
A long time.
It's been most of my career. So, in different areas of escrow, title, notary. I've been a notary since 2002. So that really helps me understand all the loan documents and all of those, documents that are just really important in the process.
Notario Público.
Yes.
How's that for Gringo? Pretty good. Huh?
You're
Okay.
improving, Bill.
Thank you. Okay, that's all I have today. Anybody, any last comments, words? If you're looking to buy a house, sell a house, give Patricia a call. Patricia, how would somebody get a hold of you?
My cell phone is the best way to reach me. I'm at 323-365-9909.
And Gustavo, somebody talked about loans or financing with a Patricia deal. How would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, my cell phone number is 714-334-4563.
Fantastic. Appreciate having you on as always. Appreciate your
Thank
support,
you.
Gustavo. Thank you for everything you do. Patricia, always fun playing with you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Annabelle, for getting on the call with us today.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Good job.
You guys, we do this there's a home buying seminar. We do it every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern time. We also live stream it to YouTube and Facebook. If you have questions, feel free. Oh, I even check. You know what? I even check the chats there.
I don't
Nope.
see anything on my Facebook. I was looking.
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
feel free, if you watch the recording of this, feel free to ask questions, and Patricia and I will watch that a little more diligently afterwards and stay on top of it
Yeah.
and get back to you. So appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.